out here is that embedded in this visual magazine color ad are several sexual items. They're very, very clear. Once you see those, they're very, very clear. And they're placed there very deliberately. Now, we fail to see this when we look at the ad because we frame things in context, and our perceptual defenses don't want to recognize a taboo of that nature right in front of us. And without getting into, a complicated cadre of Freudian examples or rules here, let me just give you an example. A picture's worth 1,000 words. When I ran the study at the Utah State Prison, there was a very famous ad that Playboy magazine had run. It was the most successful ad they had ever run for subscriptions. They ran it at Christmas time. Ken Keyes had pulled this ad out and showed it in his book, Subliminal Seduction. So I just simply blew it up and took it out to the prison system, and I put it up on the wall, or on a white screen behind me, and said, okay, I want you to look at this ad. This way you know what I mean by subliminal. And all these inmates, they looked at this ad, and I said, okay, it's a beautiful woman, and she's scantily clad, and she's holding a wreath, a Christmas wreath. And across this wreath on a ribbon is written, give him ideas for Christmas. Okay? So I say, okay, well, you can kind of see the pairing here, can't you? But guys, what I'd like to know is what kind of nuts is this wreath made of? Well, there's acorns and walnuts. Listen, the entire wreath was made of genitalia, both male and female. And once you saw it, it was like, oh my God, how could I not see that, But we so jumped to the conclusion in our context perception, and because of perceptual mechanisms, that we fail to see this info. Okay, it's kind of like the hidden faces. Now there's a third kind. And the third kind I think of as being more supraliminal. Believe it or not, we all see cars, right, with a beautiful woman in an ad draped over the car. You've seen those, right, Don?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. Now, listen, that ad has a supraliminal content. This beautiful woman in the car. She's draped over this car, or she's selling Big Macs at McDonald's. We've even seen that lately, okay? Now, let's go back to the car. Why is an advertiser doing that? Here's the bottom line. We know from research, and this was a great study, that if we show you an automobile with this beautiful woman draped over it, and then we show you a series of other automobiles, including the same automobile without the beautiful woman, and then we give you a set of distractor questions, about the kind of car that you might like, and the last one you bought, and who your favorite mechanic or the kind of mechanic you want to deal with. And then we come back to these cars and we say, we'd like to know which one is the fastest. You know which car you'll tell us is the fastest?
No.
The one with a woman draped over it. And you'll tell us that even when we show you, this is the same car that we showed you here. Why wasn't this you're making this decision on the basis of the woman. You'll deny that. Indeed, here's another piece of subliminal research that you might find interesting. This study used a very attractive young woman as a confederate in the research to approach men and ask them questions as a psychology student. So she would approach them and say, I'm a psychology student and I'm involved in a research project, and could you just answer a few questions for me? And the questions were, benign kinds of questions, what time do you get up in the morning, and do you usually have a good day, just ordinary questions. She would say at the end of it, now if you'd like to know more about what this study, what it is that I'm studying and why I'm doing it, here, let me write my number. And she would write her number in the corner and tear off this small piece of paper and hand it to him, say, you can give me a call, and she'd disappear. Okay? Now, she approached men that were on a hand bridge that swayed as they crossed. It was a little rickety, where there's a little fear attached to it, and in a park. And she approached men that were sitting on a park bench. The idea was that because the men were on this bridge, they would take their association, the heightened sense of arousal that they had on that bridge, due to its dangerous nature, they would relate it to that young woman more than those in a, just sitting down on a park bench. So how would we test this? Well, how many of these young men from each of these two groups would call her and ask her about the study and ask her for a date? Well, 2 for 1 was the ratio. If you were on the bridge, you were twice as likely to call her and ask her for a date than if you were on that park bench. There are all kinds of cues that we assemble constantly that, without conscious awareness, influences our decisions. And the people that are the architects of that proposition they want you to decide in favor of or against, they're the ones trained in knowing all this information. So, Susan Boyle, did you see her?
I've not...
Britain's Got Talent?
No, I haven't seen that, actually, no.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the story and then I'll maybe give you a different one. Susan Boyle was a young woman in Britain that captivated the audiences here in America and in Britain alike. She basically came on Britain's Got Talent to sing. Mm-hmm. And when she appeared, she, was not very comely. She was disheveled. She looked like she'd just come out of, cleaning a bathroom or head out of cleaning a dirty oven.
Right,
okay?
Right.
So, all right. Now, if you got that image, understand in the audience, they began to snicker, they were rolling their eyes. Even the judges were doing that. But when this woman opened her mouth, some of the most mellifluous sounds you ever heard came out of it. Now, I've asked lots of people, what is it that makes us think as human beings that a singer needs to look like a certain person?
Right.
Because everybody was caught by that. So, these implicit assumptions that we all carry. Let me give you a better example. You know who Jesse Jackson is?
Yeah.
Civil rights activist, Reverend Jesse Jackson here in the United States, very prominent. He's run for president of the United States, indeed, in the past. Jesse Jackson tells a story of leaving a speaking engagement one night, walking back to his hotel. It's dark outside. He hears some heavy, rapid, approaching footsteps from behind. He becomes alarmed. He turns quickly. He sees it's a white man, and he's relieved.
Okay.
Now, imagine the chagrin that Jesse Jackson has when he admits his story. You see, we all have these kinds of biases. And these kinds of things all together are used to tweak our context, our thoughts, our definitions. Let me give you a context one that you'll love, okay?
Yes.
And then I'm going to ask you a question afterwards, because I'm going to tell you right now you've been programmed, and I'm giving you an example of that programming.
Okay.
You've been programmed, you don't know you're programmed, you're walking around with an idea that is a result of programming, and you've never examined it. Do you believe that, Henry?
In some regards, yes. In others, maybe not.
All right, well, let's try this one, and let's see if it's true, all right?
Okay.
Because you can try it on everybody, and let's hope your listening audience participates as we go.
Yeah, okay.
I want you to think about the saliva in your mouth.
Right.
I want you to roll it around, swallow a little, realize how important it is. In fact, to me, I'm really glad I have it, because, trying to talk to you, do this radio show without saliva, that's the end of the ball game, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're glad you have yours too, right, Henry?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want you to just imagine a little shot glass, and I want you to spit that saliva into that shot glass, imaginarily, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Now I want you to look at that saliva, maybe it's got some air bubbles in it, but knock it on back, drink it, okay?